Thank you very much, Reza, for your time. Really appreciate it. And now turn the time over to Talal, which is Sri Lanka was the first nation in South Asia to open its economy. India opened its economy 14 years later. So Sri Lanka in 1977, India in 1991. India's never gone to the IMF since 1991, but Sri Lanka has been to the IMF many times since 1977. Is there a reason for this? And what's gone wrong in Sri Lanka since 1977?
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Speaking about that, I'll just give a blank answer and a straightforward answer, and then I'll go into the reasons. One thing is Sri Lanka, though it opened its economy in 1977, it wasn't done fully, and it was sort of like half-hearted, going back and forth. So that's one key thing. And if you just going into history, Sri Lanka was the first country in South Asia to open its economy, at least technically. And if you look at from the developing world, Chile and Sri Lanka were among the two earliest from the developing world. But when you look at just a comparison, Chile has 46 trade agreements as of now. But after half a century, Sri Lanka still stands at 3 free trade agreements. So here again, the thing is like we say it's an open economy, but it's still one of the closest and most protected economies in the world. Now, I wouldn't say closed, but most protected economies in the world. So here again, there's a bit of a contradiction when saying an open economy and an economy where, trade facilitation and trade liberalization isn't not up to standards, even by least developed country standards. And the other thing is, for example, the second point is, though Sri Lanka liberalized its economy, we still see that they never sort of went into SOE reforms. So even though the country was liberalized in 1977, we still find 527 state-owned enterprises still lingering around, and the state sector is still at 1.4 million people. So here again, you find many of the state-owned enterprises are also players in are competing with the private sector in commercial industries like tourism, like hotel industry, retail. So here again, there's a bit of unfairness. And also the state has been interfering, constantly coming up with, price controls, setting prices in the market. So here again, the thing is that though we claim to have opened our economy the earliest in South Asia, it wasn't done in a proper way. Some other areas are like labor reforms weren't changed. Labor reforms are, I think, done in the 1950s. So in 1977, they were not changed to suit the modern economy. So here again, we have one of the highest retrenchment costs. So before 1977, a previous government in 1970 nationalized a large amount of land. But after 77, the government never really gave up most of the land. 82% of land in Sri Lanka is still owned by the government. So here again, the government is a very large player in the economy. And another very interesting stat is that if you look at a country, in 1977, the non-tradable sector percentage of GDP in Sri Lanka was 56%. So after liberalizing its economy, you would expect that figure to come down. But unfortunately, it went the other way. So right now, 75% of Sri Lanka's GDP is in the non-tradable sectors. So it's just, even from 2009 to 2021, I think most of the GDP, the growth 70% came from non-tradable sectors. And this is one of the prime reasons for us being unable to service our debt. And a large reason has been, the popular idea in Sri Lanka, at least after mid-2000s, on import substitution. So here again, one example before I finish off is that Argentina. Before the Second World War, Argentina was a very promising country. It was supposed to be quite developed and had a promising future. But after the Second World War, the idea, especially in not just Argentina, but largely in Latin America, was import substitution. They wanted to, cut off exports and have everything done locally, which meant that, the industries didn't want to innovate much. And the lack of innovation meant that they couldn't export much, and sort of cutting off from the international markets. Kind of explains Sri Lanka having 3 free trade agreements and having a sort of a protected economy, and why we are not exposed that much to global value chains.
Thank you, Talal. You've pointed to a lot of structural economic issues at hand here. I'd like to bring in Shamini here. So essentially, when thinking about